both fists raised, we praise God for victory. The enemy can celebrate in the face of my enemy. The energy I used to hate no longer part of me. So pardon me for trusting the vengeance to the one who parts the sea. He paid the fee so I can go free. I call that bail money. Chasing back so you can be rich. I call that fail money. Sowing out so you can reap later. I call that well money. Wise with the talents he gave us. Yeah, that's how we coming. We ain't running, never back down. Even if we take the L, greater is the one that's in me. Then he that's in the world. We the first, cause we were last and now the roads flip. We the light and he keeps us on. The breaker never trips. We ain't running, never back down. Even if we take the L, greater is the one that's in me. Then he that's in the world. We the first, cause we were last. The roads are now flipped. We the light and he keeps us on. The breaker never trips.
But now, guys, we want to go to the next half of our show today. Now, we've talked about the church, and folks, listen, once again, Mike, Arnell, and I said, listen, we are believers of Jesus Christ. And if we didn't see these things in Scripture already, because the Pharisees were trying to cancel Jesus culture every single time.
Oh, yeah.
No matter how much good Jesus did,
it didn't matter.
They found some reason to always criticize.
Why? Because they were losing control.
They were losing control.
That's right. They were losing control.
Yeah, because he was the people were drawn to him. Exactly. They were jealous, and that's what I noticed. Another thing with that people do cancel culture, the toxic form of it, not the responsibility form, but the toxic form. They are jealous that you are generating, whether it's some people or resources or something.
Yeah,
and because of that, they want to shut you down. But let's talk about cancel culture versus the First Amendment. Now, Mike, you are ADOS. Arnell, you are, I want to say a half, whatever you are, whatever your body is fighting me. Fighting.
Listen, man, ain't no fight, bro.
You're American born, but your body's fighting.
Nah, I mean, I got Caribbean roots, but I grew up here.
I'm neutralized, so I'm naturalized. So I'm naturalized. So I did the whole swearing, and so I did have to do the constitutions and all that, the Bill of Rights. I had to understand that. So the First Amendment, religion, speech, and so now we have cancel culture saying like artists, especially celebrities, anyone who speaks not their language or not their way, they're ready to cut. One of the main ones we've been talking about for a couple months now is Dave Chappelle's Closer. I'm sure everybody has watched it by now.
Yeah.
If not, you've heard so many parts of it. And that's a major thing that's been going. When Kevin Hart, well, you were joking, Mike, when you said 20 years back, or when you may have said something like Kevin Hart, 20-something years ago, made a joke about his son, if he saw his son gay or something like that.
Yeah.
He couldn't do the Oscar. They canceled him there.
Yep.
And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Even Kyrie with the vaccine, people wanted to cancel him. Aaron Rodgers now didn't take the vaccine, got COVID. It's a big hole.
Because he lied. Exactly.
First Amendment versus cancel culture, real quick before we talk about it. Is this thing a real thing? What is cancel culture? First of all, we talked about it in religious setting, but what really is cancel culture? Anyone want to jump on that? And then, Mike, if you don't mind expounding on the First Amendment. So, Arnell, I guess you can answer the question, what's cancel culture? And then, Mike, expound on what's the First Amendment, and then we'll talk about the conflict.
Okay, so and I'll just share, what I think it is, because to me, it's very subjective. All right. So cancel culture is this culture that has been created, right? And I'm almost willing to go on record and say it probably was in its infancy stage prior to social media, but social media, it grew up and it's a full blown adult now. All right.
God, yes.
So it's this culture that exists that says if you do something to offend person, community, race, sex, gender, whatever, pets, exactly, you name it, then a group of people are going to get together, and like Mike stated earlier, it can be used to hold people accountable to say, listen, that's not what we're about. That's not, that's unacceptable for you to do that towards this community, towards this gender, towards this, these animals, towards whatever. See what I'm saying? If that's unacceptable. But now, as with everything with power, people will see, oh, there's power in that. So if anybody says something that I don't like, all I got to do is get enough people to spark enough outrage, and then we'll get our way by having this person's welfare, their financial and everything either stripped away from them completely or severely affected to the point where they will bow to us. You see what I'm saying? So that's, to me, that's what cancel culture says. It's a way to abuse what should have been a way to keep accountability, right? It's abuse of that. It's abuse of that power, because it's power. Let's be real about it. Yeah. It's power. Power is there, right? Sure. Because we've seen how now we live in the age where people, and this especially applies to people who rely on social media to help bolster or to solely make their living, right? To help bolster their living, to help to improve their brand, or to promote their brand, or to make a living, right? Yeah. Because they feel like if we can take that away, then we can take away your livelihood. So that's where it exists. It exists in this online place. And it's one of the things Dave Chappelle said that I found the most funny. He was like, Twitter is not a real place.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So for him, but he's old enough to know what life is like without that.
Yeah.
And he has been doing comedy long before that. He understands it. He knows that he has built this fan base. Yeah. Guess what? If all social media sites shut down, he's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Because he knows the grind. They go from town to town, put up flyers, go to radio stations, make the announcements, the people come out.
Yeah.
He knows how to do that. But a lot of people grew up at this age without social media. They wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
They wouldn't know what to do. So that's how, and that's what feeds this cancel culture, because they feel like if anybody makes what we deem to be a mistake, we're gonna try to strip away your livelihood. We're gonna come at your name. We'll come at your family. We'll do whatever we got to do to get our way. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of what it's layered. It's rooted in selfishness. It's a thirst for power. It's not interested in context. It's not interested in that. It's interested in pushing through to prove what we want to get accomplished.
Mike, before you speak on the powerful points there, Arnell, before you speak on the First Amendment, Mike, touch on cancel culture a little bit, specifically in perspective to after George Floyd's shooting and Black Lives Matter, killing and Black Lives Matter. It seems that right after that, a lot of cancel culture was on the high in some areas. What seemed could have been a little positive. For example, the Uncle Ben's rice, Aunt Jemima, and so forth. And then it just seemed like cancel culture just got out of control. Anything you say, you know what I'm saying? If you say the word brown, cancel it. If you say blah blah blah, So speak on that, Mike. And then First Amendment.
Man, they got rid of the State Farm dude after George Floyd, man. Exactly. They got rid of the State Farm dude, and they put a black dude in. They put a brother in.
They sure did.
They was like, right after, they was like, all right, well, you got to go. We gonna get you. We got to get a new guy.
They don't get no black in the shack. They put Shaq in.
Right. And he's pale. He one of the yellow brothers, but that's okay. His brother nevertheless. But light skin dudes, y'all still in his style. But
shout out to Xavier and all the other light skinned brothers.
Bro, we still in. But yeah, as I just echo everything Arnell said. It's cancel culture is a very insidious. It can be used and weaponized in an insidious and disgusting way, and particularly after then. And you had the dynamics of after George Floyd and in the height of Black Lives Matter, you had canceling on so many different perspectives. Yeah. Like you had, if you were, let's say, a white person and you maybe said all lives matter, canceled. If you were a black person and you said, well, what about black on black crime during George Floyd, canceled. So there were there were certain things that were just like on all sides, everything was tense. And even deeper from a religious perspective, if you co-sign Black Lives Matter because of their stance on LGBTQ, canceled. Like there was, so you got to really see in full force, and Arnell mentioned it, really the nonsense of social media exacerbates the problem because it's an echo chamber for the most disgusting and vile things you can have.
Yeah.
That's why I'm currently not on social media right now. I'm developing, so I need time to develop without the distractions of nonsense.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's like, so that's what cancel culture tends to bring. It tends to bring it in a lot of ways. Again, being backed mostly by social media, it tends to bring out the worst in people, like the worst aspect. Because again, like Arnell said, people are always looking to cancel someone. At times, they're just looking to be a part of a gang mentality, mob mentality. Oh, this the person we on today? Oh, it's Gucci. Gucci did what? All right, no more Gucci. We not wearing Gucci no more.
Yep.
Jay-Z had all of us. Everybody stopped drinking Cristal because Jay-Z said no Cristal. Yo, to this day, I still don't feel comfortable wearing Tommy Hilfiger because Jay-Z said they was racist. And I to this day, bro, to this day.
Same here.
That was almost 20 years ago. Yo, I remember one time I was in the store maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was about to buy a shirt. It was a collar shirt. And I was like, oh, it's Tommy Hilfiger. I can't get that. My wife, Michelle, was like, why? I said, yo, Tommy Hilfiger's racist. You know this. She said, where? I started researching. I couldn't find the quote, but I just know that Jay-Z said it, so we can't tell it Tommy Hilfiger. So these are the negative effects of what cancel culture could do. And I ended up seeing an interview where Tommy Hilfiger recently talked about that, about how a lot of his brand took a hit because of this
big hit.
Yeah,
they misquoted him in an article, I believe it was, or a statement, and his brand took a hit because of that. Yeah. So this is what cancel culture not only affects people's livelihood, it affects lives.
Yes,
so that's part of it. So that's an issue with cancel culture. But speaking about the First Amendment, the challenge we're having with the First Amendment, and it's not new, because these have been consistent throughout American history, is the challenge we've had with the First Amendment. And as for everyone that knows, the First Amendment is part of the 10 Bill of Rights. Now, of course, speculation is that the founding fathers of America had Christian influence. That's speculation. I mean, if you look at the Ten Commandments and look at the Bill of Rights,
they're more Freemason than Christian.
Right. Conspiracy theorists.
Hey, God. Here we go.
I got facts. I was there.
People be canceling people too. If you're a conspiracy theorist, cancel. I know sometimes I cancel conspiracy theorists. Certain stuff if you telling me the earth is flat, I'm canceling. That's it. It's over. Because I'm not going to argue with you about the earth being flat. But no, seriously. So the First Amendment is a couple of things. I just want to read it, just a quick, just kind of summarizing the First Amendment. It said the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Here's the problem we keep having people keep having with the First Amendment. People think that's literal. And so because you think it's literal, you don't understand that there's things within that. So if you look at the first part of the First Amendment, when you look at the freedom of religion, what that specifically means is that when America was being formed, the early settlers that came here were fleeing religious persecution from England. Mm-hmm. When they came to America, because England, the crown, and the church, Roman Catholic Church, were together. What they wanted to establish in this country is specifically, and that's why you hear separation between church and state. That's not in the First Amendment. That's just a statement people say. Mm-hmm. What it actually means is that the government does not choose your religion for you. Yep. That's what it means, is that you have the freedom to choose your religion. But if you think it's literal, you wouldn't know. Now, freedom of speech is the really difficult one. You can say whatever you want, but you are not free from consequences.
Thank you.
So you cannot say bomb in a building and not have a consequence. If you say bomb on an airplane right now, you are going to get arrested. And I believe that is a federal crime.
Yeah.
So that's what people miss. Freedom of assembly. You can assemble, but you can't assemble anywhere. Yeah. Even like the Second Amendment. You have the right to bear arms, but you can't go into church with them. There are many different specificities within these laws. And what happens is people don't understand those from a basics. People don't understand the nuance with the First Amendment. And so you have people getting canceled for many different reasons, sometimes well-intentioned, other times because you just didn't understand. You're saying, why is everyone canceling me for screaming bomb and causing mass hysteria? Well, because you shouldn't have been doing that. You're saying, well, I have free speech. Well, everybody just got trampled and some people died as a result of your free speech. So the government put many different guardrails, if you will, in place for all of the amendments so that it would be better. Because if we operated it literally, it'd be impossible. We would have chaos if we took each of these sections within the First Amendment. This would be an unattainable place to live. So, in trying to develop democracy, again, this is a country that was one of the first to create this type of democracy, this democratic republic. It's unique to any other country or civilization. So there were many things that had to be worked through, and still they amended this. They amended the First Amendment in '92. So Congress is always looking at different bills, adjusting as the time works. I think it was Antonin Scalia that said the Constitution is a living document or a moving document where it evolves over time. Now he sounds like he comparing that to the Word of God, but we're gonna put that to the side. But we'll put that to the side. But so this is when you get into the nuance of freedom of speech and the First Amendment, freedom of religion, etc. So when it relates to cancel culture, then you have all this muddy water, and you have all of the nuanced conversation. Like my main man Patience always says, context. We got to get that first before we have the conversation. So if you understand the First Amendment, then it helps you operate in this space.
Yeah,
it's the sad thing, Arnell, and I want you to touch on the First Amendment and also your thoughts before we bring this to a close, is a gentleman, or what do you call him, a gentleman, an individual was speaking for 4 years, all kinds of ungodly, crazy stuff. And not until June 6th, where his words caused an insurrection, right, that people said, oh, shoot, we need to put a clothespin on this man's mouth.
Exactly.
And we know what we're talking about. Number 45, President 45. And
exactly.
For 4 years. And it just blew my mind. Like, anybody said anything, boom, cancel. This dude was saying all kinds of ridiculous, ungodly stuff. He wasn't getting canceled. Facebook, none of them. But not until it affected something, was a total embarrassment to the United States worldwide, then people was like, yo, cancel this dude. Facebook.
Man, that's a great point, Denry. Like, we talking so much about who get canceled. We not talk about a lot of times who hasn't been canceled. Like, some people need to be like, come on, baby, we know you gonna get canceled. But go ahead. I just wanted to throw that in there. Like,
exactly. But it just goes to show once again the hypocrisy with cancel culture, the double standards, the white nationalism with if this was a black or Hispanic or Asian or some different nationality president, national race president, dude, remember Obama when he said about Trayvon Martin, and he said, dude, when the whole thing happened, he says that was like if that was my son or that me. Oh my goodness. Rush Limbaugh, whatever that dude's name, a whole bunch of people, Fox and all. They were
he's a race baiter. He doesn't like
They were trying to cancel.
Bro, they was going to cancel that dude because he didn't wear a flag on his coat.
On his lapel,
on his lapel. They was going to cancel him for that. Like,
his 8th year, Obama wore a tan suit. Oh my goodness, they went crazy. They went crazy until people start showing videos of Reagan where he wore his tan suit.
It's so ridiculous.
Picture of virtue, Ronald Reagan, who created mass incarceration.
Exactly.
We ain't gonna do the politics tonight.
Exactly. But that's like what you said, Mike, when you said we and this is why we were doing the Be Honest, because we've been lied to so many times, and the truth is out there. And one of the things that we've noticed is blacks, we've been told, blacks, you be good boys and good girls. All right, you can't do what we do. All right, it's kind of like what those parents do what I say, but don't do what I do. And anytime you step out of line, the other day I was thinking, I was like, my oldest son is starting to drive now.
What?
Yeah. I'm teaching him.
Did you give him the talk?
You
know where he at?
And especially what Xavier said the other day when he had to come back around just to make sure my boy was okay. And it got dark in my mind for a moment when I thought about that, Mike and Arnell, that I have to do the talk. And for those of you who don't know the talk, when black people said do the talk with a kid, a teenager or individual who's driving, their child who's driving, is like, they said, listen, when you're driving, that's when the time for you to be the good boy or good girl.
Yeah. You make it home.
Whatever the officer said.
Home safe,
and come home safe. The only objective there is one objective, no other. It's not for you to try to figure out what's right or wrong, to get your amendments or whatever. It's to come and say. And I was saying to myself, like the pain and agony that we already put it into our children's head, post-traumatic stress before they even go through it. You know, like my son is driving now. He's driving with me. He don't have his life. He's getting his permits and all that, but he's going to be driving one day.
Yeah.
And especially the community that we're in, he's going to be driving. And you know, we ran out of the hood so we can have a better life, but these other suburban communities don't welcome us so friendly.
Nope.
And I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to intentionally like go to the police stations and introduce myself and say, hey, how you doing? It's me again. Remember me? You met me before, passed away. Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, these are my sons. You know, hey, this is Officer so and so. Why? Because if Officer so and so pull my son over, he can say, oh, I know this dude. Maybe that will.
Maybe.
And but see, that's what I'm saying, like the hypocrisy. I've seen those videos where white people or some people say, when the cop pulls you over, this is what you can tell them. You can tell them no comments. You can tell them all.
I had a friend in the seminary, white brother, told me to do that. I said, brother, you can do that. I ain't doing that.
No.
I am not doing that. Like,
don't listen
you
to that.
get more than cancel culture. You get canceled.
Yeah.
You're going to die. You're going to die. You run a risk anytime you try to. And it sounded beautiful too. And you know me, I'm a militant, so I want to fight. And I'm like, yeah, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. But then I heard my mother saying in my head, Michael, you a black man in America. And I quickly snapped in and was like, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that.
Nah, bro.
I ain't doing that. I got too many kids and a beautiful wife. I got to come home.
Capitalize what you're trying to say, and then we'll put our closing thoughts and get out of here for tonight. First Amendment, cancel culture. You know, what's the clash? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, the only thing I would want to add to what Mike said was, and he already really touched on it, which was my biggest point is, yes, you do have freedom of speech, but with freedom of speech comes responsibility. Yeah. You cannot separate or divorce responsibility for your words from your words. You see what I'm saying? And I think that is what has been brewing, and it's a part of the undercurrent with cancel culture. See what I'm saying? Because we know, and there have been instances where cancel culture people would take it too far and start posting celebrities' addresses online. They're going too far. They take stuff too far. You see what I mean? And it's to the point where if the focus was then turned on them and say, hey, by doing this, you actually broke a law. We're going to arrest you. Then they would be like, oh, but it's just my freedom of speech. I just posted this online. I just, no. Your words have consequences.
Yes.
And I think that is one of the biggest things that's getting lost, is because I have 140 characters, I can say whatever I want.
On Twitter, Facebook. Oh, excuse me, Meta.
Right. I can say whatever I want with no consequence. And I'm here to tell you, if we have any listeners that were born into this internet age, you don't know what life is like before the internet, before social media, I'm here to tell you, your words have consequences. Yes. And you will find out. We were joking about this a little bit in the pre-show. You will find out. Let you get a position of stature and someone else don't like it. Someone else also wants that position. They're going to go find something you said on social media and take it to whoever's in charge of handing out that position to try to get you knocked down a level so they can get that. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your words and your actions and young ladies, to my young ladies and young men, the pictures and stuff you posting, listen, one day you are going to try to go into a profession one day, and this stuff will come back to bite you. I know right now you want to be TikTok famous. You want to be Instagram famous. I know this generation don't even use Facebook, so I ain't going to even put that up. Y'all want to be Snapchat,
Meta,
TikTok,
baby, Meta.
Whatever it's called, they don't use it.
We don't want to be canceled for saying the wrong name anymore.
My name is Clay. I'm going to call him Clay. It's Facebook.
Right.
Facebook.
Whatever it's called, they don't use it. All right. They don't even use it. So They want to be TikTok famous, and they say, "Oh, this stuff disappears." No, it don't. Because
No, it don't.
if a criminal case came up, you better believe they can go find that. They can
Yep,
pull it
coming
out
up.
of the air and present it in court as evidence against you.
That's
So
right.
just be aware of that, okay? And parents, please teach your children this. All right.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to say, man. First Amendment, yes, you do have freedom of religion, freedom to assemble, freedom of speech, but you are not free from responsibility of your actions. And listen, don't participate in this cancel culture. You understand? Do your due diligence. Take a moment to breathe. And I'm talking to myself too. Because sometimes when you see this stuff, you know, you can just react, right?
Yeah.
But take a moment to breathe. Try to get a little bit more context, a little bit more information. And then if you do join the conversation, offer an informed opinion, please, not just a reactionary firing from the hip. So that's what I wanted to say.
You know, the thought question as I close, and Michael should give the final thought, is who's really in charge of the cancel culture? For example, with Dave Chappelle, you know, there were both sides. There were LGBT people from the LGBTQ community who were like against it and blah blah blah. But then there were people from the LGBT community who were like, "Yo, this is cool. This makes us don't seem like so sensitive people. We need to stop all that being sensitive. Like anybody can talk about everybody else, but they can't say nothing about us. Like who are we? You know." And then even when he shared about his friend who was a transgender, you know, Daphne. And how basically what he was saying, and even I listened to some other podcasters about it, some from the LGBTQ community, and they were saying, y'all focusing on what Dave said and his jokes and stuff, but y'all ain't focused on the fact that y'all killed Daphne.
Yeah.
The person was trying to defend Dave Chappelle, and 6 days later, she's dead because they just kept attacking
They bullied her. Yep.
They just kept bullying her on social media, and then next thing, you know, she jumps off a building. You see what I'm saying? So who's really in it? Because that's what I found out. It's who's really, like, in any time it's cancel culture, there's people who are like for, and there's people against. So at the end of the day, it's just one thing somebody was saying was that one of the reasons why Dave is successful and can do what he can do is Dave hasn't sold out. Dave has no sponsorship. See, when you have sponsorship and your sponsors are with a certain agenda, right? Then if you're not rocking with that agenda, anything you say, because money's tied to it, and we know the love of money, not money, but the love of money is the root of all evil. Once money's tied to that, you know, boom, cancel.
Yeah,
cancel.
They're gonna pull away your livelihood.
Yeah, think about it. Every time you hear somebody's canceled, like a celebrity or athlete, they lost the sponsorship. They lost Gillette. They lost Nike. They lost Sprite, blah, blah, blah. Just cancel. Because why? They know that they're paying you to say a certain thing, to be with their agenda. And if you vary from that, you get canceled. Mike, take us out, man. Your final thoughts.
Yo, man, this is, like I said, this is why we do what we do, man. Having these tough conversations. And I'm just going to echo what Arnell said about, because I'm thinking about it as you were talking, brother. And I don't even know if we should be participating in this cancel culture. Like, why do we benefit from this? Like I said, you know, Frances Haugen used to work for Facebook. She's the whistleblower that came out a month ago, exposing with 10,000 documents how Facebook. This is to your question, Denry, of who's in control. She explicitly showed and testified in multiple places, not only here but abroad, about how Facebook's algorithms filter for the most insidious, the things that because people interact with their anger emotions more than they interact with their joyful emotions.
Absolutely.
And Facebook knows that, and they heighten those. So guess what happens when you're a well-meaning person and you get involved in that? You end up getting canceled because people will see you and you will be participating in that. My uncle told me one thing in the 2016 primary. He was talking to me. You know, Trump had said all the things he said about Mexicans and grabbing women and all of those different things. And he told me something. He said, all the people posting everywhere in support of Trump, history doesn't have a bad memory. History doesn't have amnesia. You will be remembered for this day.
Yeah.
People will be reminded of that. And because of the cancel culture, you may find yourself on the outside. So stop being involved in the cancel culture and just rise above that and understand it. And if you're worried about being canceled, never be.
Yeah.
Jesus said, if they hate you, they hated me first.
Me
John
first.
chapter 15.
That's right. Yep. Fact.
So if you're doing what God has called you to do, nobody can cancel.
Nope.
Yeah.
You don't ever have to
And
worry
that's why
about it.
we live by the will, and the person that controls our life is Jesus Christ, not our money.
Mhm.
You know, because as you see, I got a fake chain on. I ain't got no money to be buying it. But before we get out of here, Arnell, patience. Tell us the Sabbath Sneakers promo. What's going on, Sabbath Sneakers? So I'll
Sabbath
be honest,
Sneakers,
listeners can
man.
tune in.
Listen, man, make sure y'all go check us out, Sabbath Sneakers, on all of the podcast streaming platforms. You can catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, on Anchor, Breaker, wherever you get podcasts. You can check us out there. Also, we are still in our infancy stages on our YouTube page, man. So check us out there. Please like and subscribe if you like the content there. We're building that content as always. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe over on YouTube. But make sure you guys follow us, man. The heavy content, the interactive content where we really get down is on Instagram, man. That's where we really get down with the get down. So at Sabbath Sneakers on Instagram, connect with us there, man. If you love sneakers, if you love the culture, man, we have a good time, man. We laugh. We don't take ourselves too serious, man. But, we also like to give you good content. So if you enjoy it, man, if you enjoy sneakers, you enjoy the culture, join us over there.
So what y'all sneakerheads think about when you wear two different pairs of the same sneakers, two different colors of the same pair of sneakers?
I don't like it, man. That's just not my wave, bro.
I saw a guy with two different pairs of Jordan 1s today.
I know.
They tried to bring it back,
flex, but I don't like it. That's not my
They
way.
tried to bring it back. They've been doing that recently for I think 4 or 5 years. They've been doing that, bringing out different colorways and stuff. No good.
Because look, I'm gonna tell you really quick why, and then we can get out of here. You know what it reminds me of? When and I'm gonna date myself a little bit. When I was growing up, man, we used to be able to go into the shoe store, and some shoes would have one left shoe on the wall,
yes,
and one right, and another shoe store would have a right shoe on the wall, right? So it reminds me of those guys used to go in there.
Were you shopping in?
That's ATL
inside
what were you
the
doing?
store.
That's ATL for you.
It reminds me of guys used to, huh?
Yo, I've never heard that before.
Never.
What were you doing?
What?
They get all of the shipments.
I have never heard of that.
Mike, they didn't get all of the shipments in Atlanta. They
didn't get all of the shipments in Atlanta. They stopped. They got enough in New York, and then they just stopped in Atlanta. They was like, y'all just get lefts and rights only. We just get. I've never heard that.
They were sending y'all off-brand peers.
They were doing them wrong, man.
It's so bad his internet is not even working. All right, B.Honest Universe, y'all been rocking with us on behalf of Patience, on behalf of Mike, and my name is Denry the Overcomer. It's been an honor to speak with you and just open up your mind, because we got to be honest, folks. There's a lot of lies out there, so we got to be honest. So remember, be honest to God, be honest to your neighbor, but Mike, be honest to who?
Yourself.
All right, man. Peace until next time. This man,
I never heard of that.
His shoe stores, his Foot Locker look like my
This
show.
is Foot Locker. They got one.
That's not the book.
They got one shoe.
Look like
You gotta go get. That's the left shoe. Then you gotta drive down the block to go get the right shoe. I have never heard of that before.
Never.
What is going on in Atlanta? They haven't.
All right,
they was having a supply shortage.